the Mirthmobile.
I think we'll go with a little
Mixtape Monday.
Next to each other. Party on, dudes!
next party on.
Party on, Wayne!
Party on, guy.
All right. Hello and welcome back to another edition of Mixtape Mondays. I am your host, John, the creative blue collar guy, joined as always with Roman of the Empire and Stephen Ransom. I know we took a week off, and we're gonna get into that in just a moment. But before we really get started, I really quick want to go through the chat. We've got Matt here in the chat. Cheers to you, brother. Always good to see you here. We have Jacob Ironside joining us as well. Good evening to you as well, sir. Listening to some AC/DC right now. Oh, I thought he was about to make a joke about being in the air conditioning while Roman is sweating in the garage.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, well, you know, we have Jay the Deep Minded. Hello and good evening to you. Or I guess it's probably very early morning where you are. Actually, I'm not sure. Where did she say she was on Twitter?
Singapore. She was in Singapore.
Singapore. Right. Okay. What time is it there? And I believe that's it so far. So yeah, like I said, we took a week off both from Mixtape Mondays and solving the world's problems. So we want to kind of talk a little bit about where we've been, what we've been doing. Roman, we'll start with you.
I've been in the garage. It's been hot. No, I joke. No, the middle daughter of the Empire was out visiting last week. We don't get to see her too often, so that was really nice. And then that was pretty much the week. I've been eating and drinking like the world is going to end, though. So I really need to rein that in. Otherwise, I might need somebody's liver.
Well, I mean, you have to get in shape for your Halloween costume of you being Ryan Reynolds.
Green Lantern. It's just green mother effing lantern.
Okay. Is it
Ryan
ironic?
Reynolds.
Is it supposed to be ironic that he has mint cellular and he was Green Lantern? I mean, is that supposed to be a joke?
It's not a good
knowing him, probably. That's a long con, though. That's quite the long con.
It's very long.
So yeah, and then I guess myself, I just work has been kicking my ass and just kind of didn't really have any gas in the tank and figured it was a good time to just maybe take a week off. Haven't produced any short videos. I wasn't part of any live streams. I just kind of took the week to just relax. Yeah. What about you, Stephen? What were you up to? I think you were probably joining a few different people in our absence.
He's been a madman. A madman.
I've been all over the map. I've been in the middle of like 2 or 3 major dramas going on.
Right.
Last night I was on a panel where the guy who was hosting the panel is having this beef with this guy, this other guy. And as soon as one went live, the one I was on, the other one went live and started talking, and they both were talking about each other almost the whole thing. So it was ridiculous. And just endlessly monologuing too, like supervillains. I'm like, dude, there's 3 other members on the panel, man. You haven't even asked us the question yet. It's like, are we talking about anything but your angst tonight or what? And we did it for 3.5 hours too. So
that's a long time.
Ridiculous. But I started having fun with them. I literally turned to the other members of the panel and started acting like we were observing a mental patient in a hospital. And he barely even noticed that I was saying this. He was so engrossed in what he was going on about. It was hysterical. It's a whole lot of fun. But yeah, there's a lot of panels out there that I've just been jumping on. Anybody that drops a link to me or puts a StreamYard link in the chat, I just go with it, and been getting some serious practice in. I'm actually tired
That's a great way to. I mean, you've been doing it like a madman, like I said, but that is a good way to. Like Father Miller used to do that. And that's how I met PJ and that whole UK crew, was through him and getting on there. And meeting Bounding into Comics last week. It's a good way for to meet other like-minded folk out there and have some fun discussions. On a semi-related note, I want to say to Prophet of the Dragon, I hope you feel better soon. Poor fellow's down. He's still been working, but he's not healthy right now. So get better, Prophet of the Dragon. I hate you, but I want you to feel better.
Yeah, he's far too good looking to be on a stream. I just, somebody needs to stop him as soon as possible. He's far too adorable with his kid and his red hair. I don't care what he says. He's a ginger.
Well, that means Disney will probably be replacing him soon with a diverse person of I don't know. You can name the part of the rainbow.
I would imagine Mrs. Prophet might not have too much of an issue with that. I don't know. I don't know what kind of a gal she is, but
see, trying to lure him in here, but poor guy. He has sickness. I do hope he feels better.
So it's funny though your quick comment about.
Oh, also, let me. I've got a poor Mr. AWK, our man in UK has been down hard sick as well.
Oh, wow.
So another get well to our friends on the interwebs.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Alec has been just cold out of it.
Oh man,
you're gonna make another meme of me, Jacob? Really?
Yeah. We can always use more memes.
Although Roman Targaryen was pretty good, I saved that. It's a solid meme. It's solid.
But speaking of solid memes, not of any one of us, but somebody, I think Steven said something about like seeming like super villains, whatever. And I just saw this meme a little bit earlier today. I already sent it to Roman, and I laughed way too hard at it. I have to share it. But it's this picture here. It says, it's amazingly easy to find images of Gavin Newsom where he looks like the villain from every movie made between 1985 and the present. I very quickly asked if he was getting ready to take over Nakatomi Plaza, to which Roman said, I don't think he's qualified. But when I saw this, I laughed way too hard at this.
That's fantastic.
It's both appropriate, horrible, and it's funny only that it's accurate, not that it's actually funny because we live this.
And being that the three of us all live in California, we feel this. And I was just looking up recently thinking, okay, we got midterms coming up soon. He seems like he's running largely unopposed, which worries me.
Yeah, that's effing fantastic.
As I usually often make the disclaimer, I'm not really hard to one side or the other. Like, I don't have that party loyalty of, I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, I'm just going to vote for this person just because they're of this political party. I try to kind of look at it objectively. But personally, I can't stand this person. So, I mean, whatever. Like, if people are going to vote for him, I'd love to hear why.
Do you not like, paying your environmental price in gas?
Well,
what's wrong with you? Are you not a fan of crime? Do you hate the homeless? What is wrong with you? You're a bigot and a racist. That's what's the matter with you.
Selfish bastard. That's all I am. That's just.
I have a hot topic. I'm going to run with him on Thursday, actually. And
nice.
Oh, okay. Hot tease there. Hot tease.
I know I did.
So it'll be
Good
Hot Topic, not 21 Forever.
Hot Topic has more fun items. And this is a more fun topic.
I'm still marveling at that police officer with the great white mustache in the background of that shot. I swear, that guy's got some stash, man. I'm jealous.
I can't believe I'm here behind this guy. I hate him so much.
Yeah, in the back of his head, he's just like, keep it holstered. Keep it holstered. Don't do anything crazy now.
All right. Well, I think the FBI is knocking on my door, so it's been fun.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, I think we're warmed up. Let's go.
Just how hot is it in the garage, Roman?
Hang on. Let me check. Let me get the.
Oh, I didn't mean to make you get up. I thought you already knew.
No. Oh God! No!
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, we've got a Blair to Blair in the chat. What is up? Woo! Thank you so much for tuning in and being here. And yes, Jacob says
it's 105.
105. Oh,
not so bad.
Nothing.
It's been
It's
worse.
And then, yeah, Jacob here says, I'm going to be working as I listen, so I'll be in and out of the chat, and I might make a meme of Roman. Please do. We can always use more Roman memes. And I have got an onslaught of starting and ending live streams as hard clips that are going to come out throughout the following weeks.
I'm looking forward to those.
I
Man.
started stitching them all together, and the whole clip was going to end up being over 10 minutes long. So I just thought, you know what, maybe I'll just release one a week.
Probably best.
Yeah. Or you could be like so many other YouTubers out there and just barrage us to death with shorts. I mean, Christ.
I could
haven't
do that
seen
too.
so many shorts since the last time I was at the beach.
Yeah, it's the new hotness. I'm not a.
I think
it's probably why I only have
uh,
like 7 viewers, is because I don't do any of these things. But to be fair, the Empire Studios is a fairly limited production, and there are other things that I manage throughout my day. It's not just this glorious garage, boys and girls. It's also the real life aspects of being.
He's got to
Roman of
keep
the
up
Empire.
on the backyard and the lawn and the garden.
I'm also a
and-
gardener. I cook.
He's living that
I
Hobbit
got
life.
things. Oh
what
dear Lord!
is-
Hey guys, I got to drop off for 1 second. I'm sorry, I have to take a phone call.
Yeah.
It's important. I normally wouldn't do
you're
this, but I
just
got to take this.
the worst.
I'm an
All right,
ass. I know. Fuck off. All right.
We'll check in with the chat here, Matt. And what do we got here? Music fans, if you like Nine Inch Nails and Filter, there was an all-time reunion of Nine Inch Nails with Richard Patrick, Danny Lohner, Chris, can't pronounce that last name. They performed some older Nine Inch Nails stuff, and Hey Man, Nice Shot. That's kind of an interesting mashup, Nine Inch Nails and Filter together. Huh. And if you want to watch shorts, I would not be using YouTube. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of ironic that that's the way it's gone. That, you watch stuff on YouTube to see videos that are 10 minutes long, an hour long, 2 hours long, but then exactly what you can see on Instagram is now on YouTube. I think I did try to upload one of the clips that I posted recently as a short, but I was at work and I was trying to do it to my phone, and it was the kind of I don't know, panorama or whatever, like the way that a YouTube video is wider.
You're wider.
My phone was trying to crop it as if I was like doing like an Instagram post. So I was like, well, that's not going to work. So I might try it for my computer, but if that doesn't work, then apparently I'm just not in the YouTube Shorts game. I'm sure there's a joke in there somewhere, but
I was thinking that as well, but I wasn't clever enough to come up with it in time, and now that moment has passed.
And all I've got is baiting videos in my head. So I'm not going to even comment. You said tube, you said shorts, we're talking about your
You keep
game.
that tube in your shorts, mister.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, but I don't have the ball fan picture loaded in here.
Oh, you don't have that?
No,
I can send
I think
it
it's
to you
only
if you
on
want.
here. Yeah. Well, anyways,
Yes.
should we get into our topic at hand for the evening?
And that way we can deviate from it almost immediately. That's the important.
Yeah, well, because we've already bullshitted for about 15 minutes now.
Have we have. That's pretty good. It's not bad.
That's good. We're
It's
just
not
killing
bad.
time because again,
Almost
kind
like
of
we know what we're doing.
it's a loose format tonight. We're catching up. We had a week off. They threw out one idea, and that's about all I have. I have no notes. We're just shooting from the hip today. But
we have Thad in the chat, so any misgivings about information, all we got to do is cue the chat, and they will just hammer us to death with info.
Oh,
I
I'm good at
understand
misinformation.
Gandalf was from Northern Ireland. I'm just throwing that out. I'm waiting for Matt to hit me back. Matt has a brain this big, and he does have all the knowledge.
Dude, I
And I'm just a guy
remember
with
when I went to see Lord of the Rings
fan
in
on
the
my
theaters, when it first came out, the first movie, Fellowship of the Ring, there were actually Baptists out in front of the theater petitioning, saying, Gandalf is not God. I mean, those were the good old
Gandalf
days.
is not God. You're correct. We agree with you.
Yeah, I know.
They knew that J.R.R. Tolkien was a Christian, right?
Matt responded. Well played. Oh,
Like he
Lord.
was a Christian.
He was Catholic.
friends with my
C.S. Lewis.
brain just went totally blank. C.S. Lewis.
Yeah,
Yes.
they had a very
Um,
very deep friendship.
Like, yeah, he drew a lot of parallels with the Bible in his stories and everything. So it's funny to me that people would be out there protesting him when he was like a very well-known, like writing those metaphors into his stories. Like,
Yeah, I
and
think the
supposedly
general
even Harry
comment.
Potter. I remember
Anybody
Harry Potter
passing
like
through
with
that
the-
petition line, they were just like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like the,
we know, guys. Yeah, come on, come see the
Yeah,
movie.
like the
with us,
Christian
you silly
community
guy.
got all bent out of shape about Harry Potter too, but J.K. Rowling also.
You know
I
what?
think I've
You need to
read
burn
something-
that little witch. We can't handle him. I don't like him. I don't like his religion. I don't like his politics. Burn the witch. Okay, sorry.
All right. Well, that
You can't
Yeah.
be so easily.
And that's all I have to say about that.
get yourself.
Oh, and I know I had a thought, and now I get a lot of pain right here. It's funny. I'm gonna. Before we get into the topic, there's something that I did want to bring up because we talked about Lord of the Rings briefly.
Right.
So, the Rings of Power, which I largely hate as a topic, but there's been a scene that's been making the rounds the last couple of days of Galadriel trying to train them how to sword fight, and I'm sure you've wandered across it even by accident, and it's ridiculous looking as a scene. So conversely, House of the Dragon had a scene like that last night. It's not like they planned that shit out. They don't know what each other's production stuff is, and they're unrelated
Or
studios
do
and all
they?
that. But House of the Dragons was awesome. It was like, that's everything I wanted and more. And it erupted into a great fist fight and a scandal in the kingdom, which is also good. He does get burned in the last book. Not the way I'm talking about, Jacob. Not the way I'm talking about.
So are we done triggering the chat, or should we keep
Oh, yeah.
trolling? We can keep trolling. That's fun.
Yeah, especially
right,
since we
so-
can just get rid of them if we want to.
Nah, it's fine. We don't want to get rid of our 4 viewers.
Please don't. Please don't. Please don't get rid of us, sir.
So all right, so I threw this out there the other day. I'd been watching this recently. It's on Disney Plus, the docuseries called Light and Magic. Have you guys had a chance to watch any episodes of this, or?
I don't have
I have
access to
not.
it, but
Hmm.
no.
I've been drunk for the last week, so I've been kind of tied up.
I got you.
I've watched so much supplementary material from like the prequels and from the Lucas
Yeah.
Studios and stuff. They've been talking about. I have a box set of the original Star Wars when it was just THX, right? It was a THX box set.
Yep.
The
Was that
commentary
the-
and
the
the extra
beginning
footage on
on
those
those?
things.
And the room
Yep.
rumbles and you're happy, and yeah, that was satisfying.
But yeah, so I mean, if you're already familiar with the company, like I had like obviously heard of them and kind of knew, okay, it's the company that they did Star Wars and stuff. But like watching the docuseries is really interesting and getting a lot more in depth of how. I mean, George Lucas literally formed this company because he had this idea. He wanted to make his grand space opera. He wanted to make Star Wars. And it was like, okay, well, it's the mid 70s. How do I do this? How do I bring this to life? And he just threw together this like ragtag team of guys that could do practical effects, stop motion, miniatures, puppeteers, all sorts of stuff. And so they did the first Star Wars movie, and then kind of sat quietly dormant until he came up with Empire Strikes Back. And so for those first couple of years, these guys are sort of like left kind of hanging in the wings of, all right, Lucas put us together, formed this company. What are we doing until he comes up with something else? So he very quickly started kind of farming them out to his friends. One most notably being Steven Spielberg, in that after they did A New Hope, they did Empire Strikes Back, then they did Raiders of the Lost Ark. So the one of the episodes in there where they're talking about that, where he started letting his friends use this company, and they went through some of the greater details of how they did like the face melting scene at the end of Raiders. It was pretty cool, and just kind of seeing, but it was really interesting because the series was like 6 episodes. And so it starts with all of everything's practical effects. Everything is, you can see it, touch it, it's real, it's whatever. And then it started kind of morphing into when they got into the digital world, and like some of the older guys started kind of feeling a little left out because they weren't on board with doing the stuff on the computers. They're like, no, it's like, I know how to do the stop motion and move the little puppet and do the, this stuff. But now these guys are coming up and going, hey, well, we've got computers and we can do this and we can do that. And wasn't the very last episode, but I think one of the last ones they started getting into when they were working on Jurassic Park. And I mean, that became like the perfect blend of the two, because it was some robotics and animatronics and practical effects, and it was a lot of CG. Like they talked about the importance of the scene where they made the T-Rex run. Like Steven Spielberg said, I want the T-Rex to run. And they're like, how the hell are we going to do that? And I'm like, I don't know, but Steven Spielberg wants the T-Rex to run. We're going to figure it out. And they did it. And then I looked up their Wikipedia page, and all the movies that they've done, there's some you wouldn't even think of. Like, oh, there's not really a lot of effects in that. But actually, when you really think, one of them was Forrest Gump. And you think, okay, Forrest Gump, pretty straightforward movie, not a lot of special effects, but Lieutenant Dan, all the scenes where like he's got no legs, so it just quite the expansive resume for just, again, another one of these companies that George Lucas formed literally just to make his movies. And now from the 1970s up until this day, they're one of the most renowned VFX companies out there.
Yep. And just a touch of trivia, when Peter Jackson explored his initial ideas for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, he got in contact with George, or George got in contact with him and said, come on down, I'll show you how this all works. And he basically introduced him to current philosophies on pre-visualization and using low-grade CGI software to like map out where everybody's moving and the placement of the cameras, and even building lighting assemblies so that they could light the scenes. It was all done ahead of time, and it's really astonishing. And then Weta came along, and now they got some international competition.
Yeah, I remember that was another one that you're talking about, having like the expanded box sets and watching special features. I remember every time the extended versions of the Lord of the Rings movies came out on DVD, I bought all those box sets and then would like extensively watch all the special features and all the behind the scenes. And a lot of the like the forced perspective that they did, where there were some scenes where they did use some CGI to make the hobbits look shorter or whatever, but a lot of the scenes, like in the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring, where Bilbo and Gandalf are in there, it was just all the forced perspective stuff. It was really fascinating to watch that they really did a lot of that stuff.
In camera as a practical thing. Yeah.
Well, the blending of the practical and the CGI, to me, in modern filmmaking, that's the best of it. Because practical effects, you can't do all the stuff, and CGI doesn't look appropriate in all the places. So that blend is really that's the good stuff. Movies like The Thing was all practical effects back in the day, and then they tried to do that jerk off remake or prequel in 2011. Which
tell me how you really feel about that one, Roman.
It's a solid movie, which was supposed to be practical effects, and then they overlaid bad CGI over it, and you just had nothing was good. It's a crap movie. We were in the chat. Oh no, that was on. I'm sorry, that was on Father Miller Show, because I got into I can bring up The Thing in every discussion because relating to anything. And there was someone who said, they didn't mind a 2011 movie so much; it was just the CGI. And I'm like, bro, no. No, that's true.
Did you get distracted for a minute? My mom always told me life was like convenience store sushi. You never know what you're gonna get.
Hey, Matt has a scene he wanted to share. And so he said it's a 5-second scene from Rings of Power. It's in the Twitter. If you can, I can probably do it, but I'll end up dropping out of the stream and cancel.
You'll end up breaking something somehow.
That's what I do. That's what I'm known for. I'm a technical wizard.
You're some kind of wizard.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. A wizard of the
I know.
F-bomb, apparently, because he just went in that backyard and just knocked some heads together. God dang it!
Some men paint with oils, others work with clay. Profanity is an art.
Well, you are
You're
military,
like the dad from
so-
A Christmas Story.
Yes.
Download.
Yes.
Hmm.
Oh God.
I didn't learn how to curse or drink beer until I joined the army. That's what made it all happen.
There you go.
Oh.
It's like it's like the scene in A Christmas Story where the dad is going down and he's like fighting with the furnace or whatever, and
Yes.
he says the exact same quote. He's like, "Some men work in clay and paint and
Yes.
other things." And like, my father wove a tapestry of obscenities that's still hanging over.
Yes.
Funny.
Now that was a movie. That was a great movie. That's a movie everybody knows, everybody watches, everybody loves.
Okay, hold on. It just
And it's
pulled
such
up
a
on the wrong
basic
screen.
theme.
Oh, son of a mother.
Oh yeah, John, let it loose, man. Just let it loose. Just break it all down.
What's the matter, son?
Well,
Having a moment?
I'm working with two monitors here, but it pulled it up on the one that covered up my StreamYard. Now I don't know where the clip went.
You know, you try to teach
Unbelievable.
them. You try to get them to be better than you.
You know, I just
Yeah, speaking of fathers, while John is, weaving the future of the channel, when Dr. Evil was describing his father and how, he invented the question mark and, that's kind of like my relationship with my dad. My dad wasn't really into profanity. He was more like, I can't believe you just told us that that this is true and that's true. And I'm looking at a book that says, no, none of that's true, actually.
okay. I think I got it.
I see it. Oh dear God, it's a effing Harfoot. Or
Oh
is
my
it?
goodness.
Real soft.
Oh no, it's
Get
You
me
guys
the
hear
meat
that?
and give it to me raw.
do it again. Do it again.
Real soft. Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
Oh, that's so awkward for everyone involved. Oh, that's not good.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that's-
God.
That's
I love this moment so much I want to have sex with it.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness. Keep those palate cleansers coming, John.
Wow, Lord.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. I have no desire to watch this show. I'm never gonna watch it.
It's funny because House of Dragons still has a lot of the offensive stuff that Lord of the Rings that
You're offensive.
Game of Thrones had in it. Like this week, one of the young Targaryen lads is in a tower overlooking the city, having a moment
Yeah.
to share. That was less offensive than the scene we just saw.
Yeah. Yeah, it's surprising House of Dragons is killing it. I mean,
they're doing-
everybody
yeah,
I'm
they're-
listening to, they're
Yeah.
like, this thing is great. This is a lot of fun. Things are happening. Things are stacking up in the plot line. We got tension. We got real characters. It's great. It's fun to see the Flaccid Boys getting into it and doing their thing.
they are killing it. They are killing it because they're doing their great scene breakdowns. And
Yeah.
I would do that, except John's illiterate, so it makes it hard.
And you know what the worst part of all is? I never learned to read.
Fucking classic.
Okay, so ILM. We were talking about ILM, and
We were talking about something.
So how did
they-
the documentary get into the Pixar stuff? Did they get into that? The whole Steve Jobs connection?
It briefly touched on the fact that when they started going more digital, how they created a computer that they called the computer Pixar. obviously, foreshadowing, spoiler alert.
Right.
So they talked about that. They're like, we created this computer that could do computer generated graphics, and then they talked later about how they sold that to Steve Jobs and stuff. So they didn't delve too deeply into it, but like it was mentioned. They did talk about that basically George Lucas also basically invented Pixar and then sold it to Steve Jobs, who then sold it to Disney, and then
Yeah, it's crazy. That little company, I swear, man, it really altered the whole landscape. Why you do special effects, how many you can do.
It did, but then it did, and everything was great, and we had all these magical movies. But then Disney decided to go woke, and
they
now
decided to go Disney on it.
And now, what good thing has Disney done recently, aside from, say, Soul, which I think 7 people saw? I was one of them, and I did enjoy it.
I liked it.
Aside from that,
you know what? I will say, I reluctantly watched the new live action version of Pinocchio recently, and I will actually say, it wholeheartedly and honestly, it was not bad until like the last 20 minutes.
is there some kind of hotline I can call? Are you saying that you're in trouble?
The Pinocchio remake, I actually will say, was a pretty true retelling. Like, they stayed pretty close to the original story until like the way they wrapped up the ending was terrible story, terrible special effects. Like, did you, and I know the answer to this, you're probably all going to laugh and make fun of me and say, no, we haven't seen that. But do you remember the SpongeBob movie? And there's a scene with David Hasselhoff. Right.
Yeah.
The confused look I'm getting.
I have nieces. I've seen both, and one of them in the theater with my nieces. So yeah,
there was a scene with David Hasselhoff where he was like the motor of a boat, where it was like the special effects where it's like he's the back of the boat and like his legs are kicking furiously and he's like powering the boat. They used that exact same effect in the Pinocchio remake, where all of a sudden the little wooden boy is in the water, like being a boat motor. And I'm just like, good Lord, like this, I actually was not that mad at this up until this point, but wow, this is really awful.
What, you saw Pinocchio in the theater? Where did you see it?
No, it's on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it pop up every time I put on movies for my other kid, and we skip that because she only watches like 2 things on Disney Plus.
You watch Blue's Clues and The Big Bang Theory.
Those are the other things on Disney Plus. We watch The Incredibles and The Incredibles 2.
Oh, okay, that's not objectionable. I like
sometimes Toy Story, depending on her mood.
The first one.
No, I don't know if she can tell the difference between them because it's the same.
But I'm saying, if you're the one making the choice, you might as well just put on the first.
Oh no,
one.
I rotate them out. That way it drives me less crazy. But usually we're stuck with effing Blue's Clues. I hate that blue dog. I hate the host. I hate all the hosts.
You hate
Steve,
the little gay
I hate
fella.
Joe and his stupid round freaking face, and I hate Josh because he's too goddamn chipper. I don't like any of them.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
No, I think objectively that's sound.
So grumpy.
It's just a cartoon dog, Roman. Chill.
Not just a cartoon dog, Stephen. It is not just a cartoon dog. It is the devil in a blue dog form is what it is.
Spawn of Netflix, spawn of Nickelodeon. Damn you.
I hate that dog so much. I really do. It's a nightmare. I don't know. It's on all the time, and I can't do anything about it. But that's fine. It's fine. Otherwise, she'll turn into the Hulk and kill us all.
What about Big Bang Theory, your other favorite?
No, I'm fine with Big Bang Theory. Honestly, it's 12 seasons. I relate to them, so it's far. I mean, it doesn't even.
You're in my seat.
Find myself watching it by accident, and it's like, okay, fine. All right, but I know I've seen every episode of that series. I would say as many as 87 times, as little as 65 times.
What, Blue's Clues?
No. I've seen that far more. Far more.
Yeah, who knew Roman hated watching Blue's Clues as much as She-Hulk?
I don't do reviews on what's the matter. Mrs. of the Empire is looking at me through. It was because I was yelling. It's because I was yelling.
'Cause you were
I thought
yelling.
something was
Could
wrong.
you imagine, though, as much as you're having to rewatch Big Bang Theory over and over again, if you were subject to watching She-Hulk over and over again?
Oh, I don't think I would last long. I might be forced to actually end my own life. Getting through one of those episodes is very difficult. The last episode was a punishment for content creators. I'm sure of it. There's no other reason you would make such a thing. It was an episode that had literally no purpose. None. Zero. Zip.
Is that the one where she bought the suit, or?
No, this was the wedding episode.
Oh,
She was a
Oh,
bridesmaid.
right. Because introducing Daredevil's helmet an episode ago wasn't enough.
No. You just ignore that. Just pretend that didn't happen. We're going to save that so we can violate that character horribly in some later episode.
Is it politically incorrect to call this episode fluff?
I don't think so, because no, actually, it's not even that. It's most of the episodes are fluff. There's not, I mean, if you're looking for any deep meaning or the hero's journey, you're not finding it, because there is no hero's journey, because that's not what she wants to do. And this writing is not that. This, like I said,
Right.
many times it is a poorly written legal comedy that has feminism and male bashing and tiny bits of semi superhero moments.
Yeah. I was on a panel and I kept trying to figure out how to nutshell an explanation of what this show is to a person that actually is enjoying the show in their own right.
I can't have a conversation with such a person. I imagine.
Well, like I said, I'm desperately trying to become the best streamer in the universe. So
you are, and
all conversations are up for my grab. So, and basically what I came up with is She-Hulk is a not superhero story. It's not trying to be a superhero story. The main character is reluctant to be a superhero. She's barely interested in being a legal person. So
I don't know what she's interested in.
It's like they just
that one guy from episode 3. I mean, I don't know, but the show has no real purpose.
I think that might actually be the explanation. It may actually be the whole pitch. I don't think that they're making show about mistakes. Nothing? I really think that might be the real.
But it's not even a good show about nothing. Seinfeld was a good show about
that.
Nothing.
Was the only good show about nothing.
A show about nothing. But the problem is the platform it's on and what it it's a Marvel product. It's a Marvel product for who? I know the ratings for this. I've heard the numbers are actually exceptionally low. Where most of the viewers are probably content creators. Just
the only people watching it are you weirdo YouTubers that just want to review it every week.
Yes. And want is not the word that I necessarily would use. I need content, but the thing is, people. I mean, aside the House of the Dragon reviews have been really positive. I know the last episode has caused a little bit of a divide in the fan base, but positive reviews, while it's nice to be able to give them, and that's what I've been doing with House of the Dragon. For some reason, people really like hearing about things that they also hate. That's Gary and all those guys without Doctor Who would never have blown up the way they did. Doctor Who was the catalyst event for all of those YouTubers. And I'm grateful, because that's how I found them. So I was looking for someone to tell me I wasn't crazy for my views on Doctor Who. And then I found Bullstrek.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
Gary, and then all these other YouTubers.
I don't know if I would confirm that
there's a whole community just like us.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is. This notion of calling this hate watching, I think, is a mistake, because what it really is just confirmation watching. A lot of people are like, am I crazy? This show is bad. I need somebody to confirm this for me. It can't be as bad as I think it is. And then you find out there's dozens of reviews totally agreeing with you, word for word, panel for panel. So
my new theory that I've had for a couple weeks, I've told Roman, I've told Max, I've been working this theory for a little bit now, that I feel, and especially in the realm of She-Hulk, as well as other things in the entertainment world now, is that I actually believe I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat here for a second and get my conspiracy theory going. I actually believe that they're starting to intentionally put out bad content that is driven by some sort of agenda. Like this one, She-Hulk, there's like the big rant where she's telling Bruce how much better she is than him in the first episode and the whole thing and stuff. It's like they're putting out bad content on purpose, but because it's, oh, well, the lead character is a female, or it's a female of color, or it's a non-binary LGBTQ plus a whatever, something. They put out bad story, but they make the lead someone that's part of this marginalized group. So when people tear it apart and say this is bad writing, this is bad CGI, this is bad story, this is bad character development, bad, everyone can just point the finger back and say, oh no, you're an ist and you're a phobe and you just hate these types of people and you hate this marginalized group and you hate, it's like, no, we just hate bad storytelling. I mean, it's the same thing of like, as a big music fan, like there are a lot of bands out there that I am big fans of their music, but not every album they put out is going to be gold. Sometimes a band that you really love puts out a turd. Like I know I've been outspoken on Dropkick Murphys and they're kind of whatever at this point, but the flip side of that, Flogging Molly, I've been a huge fan of Flogging Molly for a very long time. I love their music. I've seen them live many times, but their last couple albums they've released have not been great. And I can sit there and say, like, I love this band. They make great music. Their concerts are fun. This album is maybe not their best effort, but that doesn't mean that I'm suddenly like a bad person for thinking that maybe they put out an album that was just not my cup of tea. Like,
what it means is you're anti-Irish.
Oh, apparently, yeah. I just hate Irish people then. Like,
nice job, bigot.
Oh my God, is Irish a race now?
I mean, they were so. I was about to say something that was totally going to get us canceled.
Nice.
Oh, good. That's what we need, because we're not quite down the hole far enough. You got the shovel and you're just covering us up now. Thank you, pal.
I didn't say it.
At this point, we should all get Disney Plus for free. We give them so much advertising every time we talk about it. They've been holding the conversation hostage for a decade now. No, 2 decades. What am I talking about?
Hi, boys. I'm here to give you your free membership. Yeah.
So how did we go from ILM to She-Hulk?
ILM. We're back to ILM again. I have no idea how that happened.
So what was like the craziest thing you saw in this documentary, John, that you were just like, wait a second, what? They did what? When did that happen?
I think if nothing else, like I was probably most fascinated with the fact that they basically created Pixar. That was fascinating. And then also there was a guy that they were in, because they were actually like interviewing some of these guys in this docuseries and talking to them and stuff. And this guy named John Knoll, who he came in as, I think he was like a 14, 15-year-old kid that got wind of what ILM was doing. He was really interested in it, and he like came down to the studio and they brought him in and said, sure, we'll give you a tour, we'll show you around and stuff. And he eventually, this guy John Knoll, ended up working for ILM because he was a little bit younger, and it was during that transitionary period where they were going from practical effects into more of the digital world. He was more computer savvy and stuff, and started going, oh, well, what if we did this? And what if we did this? And then John Knoll, if you don't know, was like one of the co-founders of Photoshop. So then now this guy who came in like as a teenager and came in and started working with ILM created and founded Photoshop.
Nice.
Like that. Like just some of the other massive major companies that were like birthed out of this little company that George Lucas started just to, hey, I want to make Star Wars. I'm going to get this team together. Then it went from Star Wars and then to Indiana Jones and then to other Steven Spielberg movies. And then they created Pixar and they created Photoshop. Like those are probably some of the most fascinating things to me, was learning what came of the creation of this company and what those people went on to create and do outside of that.
Well, I think it's interesting when you look at the Star Trek film franchise. They did most of them. And the one that is notably absent is Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, which is arguably the worst certainly of the original.
Worse than the very first one?
I like that one. I still defend that one. That's a far better film than 5. The pacing is a little slow. I get it. But 5 is just, from start to finish, it's a bad story. Bill Shatner should not have directed that. He wanted to do it because Nimoy had done it with 3 and 4. And it was bad. And they cut the funding on it. And then ILM wasn't involved. It was like 2 kids in a garage with some bottle rockets and models. And that's what it looked like. It was not good. But then they brought them back for 6, it's like, so you know when they are not there.
Star Trek V, the lost episode of 1925 Flash Gordon. I can see the strings. Oh my God, is that a sparkler?
So bad. Oh, I hate
it's like the old like Plan 9 from outer space stuff. You see the strings holding up the UFO.
But speaking of which, that opening sequence of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, that's all ILM. The Enterprise that we're currently familiar with.
I don't think they did the first one. They came in by the second one, Wrath of Khan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is arguably the best of the entire film franchise.
Yeah. It did shift the tone of the Star Trek universe into a semi-military Navy feeling. And that was intentional. And they were able to birth the rest of Star Trek that we're familiar with today. Deep Space Nine, Next Generation, all that stuff. Wasn't ILM involved in Next Generation as well?
Yeah, I'm kind of just quickly going through their Wikipedia page. And like I said, it's a very
James
exhaustive list. So
I remembered I remembered my thought from earlier. We were talking about Lord of the Rings, which I know ILM had nothing to do with.
6.
But we were watching my son Jake of the Empire and I were watching Braveheart the other day. And the musical scoring of Braveheart has a lot in common with the musical scoring of Lord of the Rings.
It wasn't Howard Shore, was it?
I thought it was, but I could be wrong. Even if it's not, that music
very similar. Yeah,
because Jake's like, where have I heard this?
So I'm not seeing. There's one in the list here. It says Star Trek Generations, but I don't know if
Generations was a blending of the 2 crews. It is also a garbage movie. It's not as bad as 5, but it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
I know people will maybe will not be happy with that. I thought
we'll see what Matt has.
It was a shoehorn kind of thing. It didn't need to exist.
But even quickly, just kind of skimming through the list, because there's a lot. I mean, they did Never Ending Story, The Goonies, the Back to the Future franchise, Labyrinth, Howard the Duck. Hey, there you go, Steven. ILM did Howard the Duck, Harry and the Hendersons. So that's when it's funny. You think Harry and the Hendersons, what the hell? But I mean, that was still a pretty elaborate costume, and the fact that the face, would move and have emotions and react. Witches of Eastwick, Inner Space, batteries not included, Spaceballs. Roman, your favorite.
Fuck Spaceballs. It was actually James.
Roman hates Spaceballs.
I don't like Spaceballs.
Yeah, me too.
I don't prefer the later Mel Brooks films.
That was still in the 80s.
That's still a later Mel Brooks movie.
You prefer the more racially offensive movies like
those are the better
Saddles?
As long as it's racially offensive.
That's nice. Putting daggers on that one, John. Jeez.
Actually, Stephen, I would say after 6 of the next gen films, and I know it's a different world, or not Stephen. I'm sorry, Matt. Just responding to his comment here. I think I liked Star Trek First Contact an awful lot. I thought that was a good movie, but I also think that was the only good movie with the next gen crew. So,
yeah, it was
That's-
it felt silly half the time. It's like the sequel to Lethal Weapon, where they're literally looking at the camera going, yeah, we know we're action heroes. Just sit in the audience and watch. It was so at the
Jake and
camera.
I watched all of those last year. We had a Lethal Weapon kind of, not a marathon because we didn't watch them all in the same night, but each night we watched a different one. And one, it was like 1 and 4. 1 was the best, obviously. 2, we had some problems with because their politicking didn't work after a certain point. And then I don't remember what the hell 3 was about. Was there a 4? Maybe or maybe there was only 3.
I don't know.
I was probably drinking then too.
But the next gen films always felt like, oh, here we are, actors from Star Trek. Look at us do a feature film. It always felt like that.
You're right. It felt weird. Whereas the original crew, you didn't get that same vibe from.
No.
Maybe because you had a lot less time with them on the small screen. Whereas the next gen crew, you had 7 years with them. That's a much bigger experience. You had like 2.5 years with the original Star Trek crew. But like I said, First Contact was cool. Even if it felt like a big screen TV adaptation, it was still cool. I mean, Nemesis was just absolute garbage. What was it I can't even remember the name. Insurgency? No, that wasn't that. What the hell was it?
What are you
it was
talking
another
about? The second Star Trek movie?
The one where the
next
people,
gen?
Yeah, I think it was the second one. It must have been the second one.
That's the one with Tom Hardy as like the clone of Picard. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, that was Nemesis. That was the last of them.
Oh, you're talking about the one with the anthropologists on that planet.
Oh, that was bad. That was just so bad.
So awful.
Right at the same time you said it, we got it.
That felt like it felt like a TV show with too big of a budget. It was so awful. God.
No, and they for some reason they felt the need to keep destroying the Enterprise. It's like
every single movie.
Whoa, what the fuck, guys? Please stop. In Star Trek 3, it didn't feel like it was a forced thing. Every time something horrible happened after that, it felt like it was just like, oh, we get to get a new ship. But you didn't really care about those ships. I mean, you cared about the Enterprise that Kirk and Spock served on, and you cared about Enterprise D with Picard and Riker and that crew. And once they shifted over, I mean, Enterprise E was, I think, the focus of. Was it Enterprise E? Oh, damn my brain.
Who cares?
I don't remember when they got that.
Well, while you're figuring that out, I'm going to give you a quick heads up to buckle up here for a second.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And here we go.
God damn it! That's not funny. That's not funny. Oh.
That's hilarious.
Jacob!
Mint Mobile! Buy Mint Mobile! Go on! Come on! My relatives do commercials.
That's just
it's so good.
Thank you, Jacob. That was
I'm
awesome.
gonna make that the new background. That's gonna be my overlay constantly in the background.
That's right. Oh, how much do I hate it? I hate everything this much. That's how much I hate it.
Jacob, thank you for keeping this going. Oh goodness, that's too good.
You know, it's things like that that are going to bring this situation to a head. Just so you know, one of these times it's going to be a
Serenity now.
8, 9, and wait, what? Oh God.
I can see Roman just yelling at somebody, going, "You don't make the guitar, don't make my garage green or animated."
Oh
yeah.
Oh my God.
8,
I don't
9,
know what.
10.
What were they trying to do? It felt like merchandising. This is what I don't like when a franchise starts doing this, where you could see the merchandising effort on screen. Like, stop
Well, I mean-
destroying our favorite starship so you can create a new
Yeah.
toy for next season. Just stop
I mean,
it
even
already.
at one point, even George Lucas admitted the way that Luke Skywalker looks in Return of the Jedi was largely due to sell more action figures. Like the fact that he was wearing all black
All
and
black.
and it ended up kind of working with the story because he was battling that side of like, am I going to be the good side of the Force or the dark side or the whatever? But overall, George Lucas like fully owned up to it, and he was like, that was to sell more toys.
Yeah. And the art direction, the guys who designed the costume and the look of Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, it was, good on them that they did create that atmosphere, right? It wasn't heavy on screen. It wasn't, didn't feel odd, didn't take you out of the story.
Yeah, it still
But
worked.
George Lucas's contract with 20th Century Fox was he had the toy rights, period,
Yeah.
end of sentence. So why not?
Yep.
Good on him, man. He came out of the blue. He got crucified by those guys before he created Star Wars. And then he put
Yeah.
Star Wars out and he was like, now you are my yes man, bitch. And that was it.
Well, and that was the funniest thing too, is that when they made that first one, like everybody thought it was going to be a total bomb. Like other than Alec Guinness, everyone on there is pretty much like
Or
a
Alec
no
Guinness.
name. Nobody knew who anyone was, and this is going to totally bomb. No one knows. But there he is.
Why am I here? Please, someone
hashtag
get me out of
RIP.
this movie.
Mhm.
I hate this all so very much.
And
Whether or not I'm an
And he was
action
the-
figure all depends upon your point of view.
he was the only one
That's
smart
my
enough to
puppet.
take a percentage because they couldn't actually afford to pay him a salary that was like what he thought was worthy of his time. So
Right.
everyone else took a flat salary. They'll say, you pay me this much money, I'll be in your Star Wars movie. Fine. Alec Guinness is like, nope, I will take a percentage.
I
And
think
he was
James Earl
cashing those
Jones
checks
got
until the
some
day he died.
Good for him.
ridiculous figure, like $9,000 to voice.
Well, yeah, he's
Darth
not
Vader.
even
It was like-
credited in the first two movies.
it's like a tiny. It was like a ridiculous amount of payment for.
Yeah, in A New
His
Hope
voice
and Empire
talents.
Strikes Back, I don't even think he was in the credits originally.
Who?
I'm
Alec?
sure he is now.
James Earl Jones.
Oh, James Earl Jones. Yeah. Well, it still blows my mind. You look at the old Frankenstein movie, and there is no cast member for the monster. It just has a question mark next to his cast listing, which is really creepy. If you watch it for the first time, you're like, whoa, that's creepy. Was that really an actor, man, or what? But
Well, that's
Nosferatu
even
is
like
the
if
same
you go
way.
back and watch,
Max
watch the original Halloween from the 1970s, the character is not called Michael Myers in the credits. The actor that's like in the mask is just called The Shape.
The Shape.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, that's the way you do it, man. It's not about ego; it's about storytelling. God damn it!
Well, thank God Halloween Ends is coming up soon.
Yeah, I started watching Halloween Kills last night. Made it about halfway through, and
it's a tough one. I watched it just because I enjoy watching bad movies. No, that was pretty much it. I just enjoy watching bad movies. But like, remember, there was like a slew of other Halloween movies. You had your original.
So that's the funny thing about this is they say, oh, their story finally comes to an end. I'm like, is it really though? Because there were a slew of bad sequels in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, God,
then they
terrible.
resurrected it in the 90s with Halloween
you had
Resurrection and H2O.
You had H2O.
And then Rob Zombie made two remakes that were completely unrelated. Then they came back again, and then they had Halloween, then Halloween Kills, now Halloween Ends is about to come out, which they're gonna just basically act like none of the other sequels happened, and they're all direct sequels to Halloween 2. And it's supposed to finally end the story with Jamie Lee Curtis and Laurie Strode and Michael Myers and all that. It's like, but is it really
How old
though?
is she now? She's like what, 79, 80?
She's like 11 billion years old. I don't know. Like,
She's
she
really
looks
old.
really bad.
I sense a baton in the next movie. That's what I said. I sense Jamie Lee Curtis handing a baton over to a similar Jamie Lee
don't.
Curtis.
Ooh, what if she ends up becoming the killer?
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
How should she do that?
she did in Everything Everywhere All at Once. She was almost a supervillain in that movie. If you guys haven't seen it yet,
I have not.
she plays a very, very cool character in that. Actually, she's an IRS officer, but in alternate dimensions in the story, she's also like a vicious killer. So it's
What's the difference?
Hysterical to see her kung fu fighting.
It's the same picture.
Absolutely brilliant. Can't talk that movie up enough.
And then I also started watching Morbius. That was really bad.
What is wrong with you?
You know,
Who
you
just
watch
said
She-Hulk,
something about? Yeah, exactly. Come on, Roman.
It's not the same thing. No. It's not really comparable.
Let's go to the replay on this one.
Hold on. I watched Morbius. I'm done in like 2 hours. You are subjecting yourself to 9 weeks of torture.
Content. Are you going to review Morbius? If you're going to review Morbius, then by all means, son, have at it.
No, I'm just going to continue to bitch about the Dropkick Murphys, and I'm going to capitalize on that one. Because, like you said, people like videos where you complain. One of my more successful videos was the one complaining about blue collar guy, what's his face, Bruce Springsteen, charging like $4,000 for concert tickets.
Yeah.
That's got like some of my most views out of any of my videos because I was bitching about something. And now
I watched one of those videos and I'm still kicking things off my recommendation list. It's like it's like, no, I don't want to watch these guys anymore. Get rid of this crap. Jeez. Interview specials and all kinds of bullshit.
Yeah, that's true.
That's fun. So, how's She-Hulk?
Yeah,
pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Did you have wedding flashbacks, Roman? Were there any sort of bridesmaid flashbacks for you? I mean, I know you've been a bridesmaid before.
Where did you get together with your friends and get dressed up and like watch the wedding episode?
Oh, She-Hulk party,
formal wear.
You got our boxed wine.
I had friends back in the day who like got dressed up when they watched the episode of The Office where Jim and Pam got married, and they had like a wedding party. Watch party. Like, so did you do that for She-Hulk or no?
What's wrong with your friends? One and two.
Well, for just the fact that they thought The Office was funny, that tells you everything you need to know about them.
Actually, I thought The Office was funny, but it wasn't like cosplay funny.
I could never get into it. I don't know what it was. Like, I tried. I gave it a fair shake. I watched multiple episodes, and I was just like, this is just a little too dry for me.
I don't know. I related to it from just the Office perspective.
Because you're old and boring.
Yeah, I could see that. I think a lot of people did too. It was just, it really spoke to that new corporate community that was evolving.
With my insides. It's not good. I'm dying over here from the beef roast I made earlier.
Oh, excellent. I think we need that clip of the dwarf and the meat quote. I think.
You young rascals! A merry hunt you've led us on, and now we find you feasting and smoking.
We are sitting on a field of victory, enjoying a few well-earned comforts. The salted pork is particularly good.
Salted pork.
Are you making salted pork in your garage right now?
I suppose after a fashion, we could call it.
Nice. If it gets any hotter, Roman will be roast pork.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
It is amazing that when they started telling the figures for the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, as to how many visual effects there were. It was an astronomical number, and now it's like television shows have more special effects in them. It's really gotten the number of backdrop green screen on live sets, and they're just putting in a whole cityscape behind these characters.
I mean, that's how all the Marvel movies have been filmed at this point, is they're just acting in front of green screens.
Yep. Well, now they're acting in front of digital billboards at this point too.
Actually, no, you're right. I did see that. I think that was the last episode of the docuseries about ILM. They're talking about when Jon Favreau came in and doing the Mandalorian and some of the other stuff, where they're acting in front of the screens, that it's no longer a green screen. The actors are seeing the scene that they are in front of.
The first time I saw that type of visual effects technique take place was in the movie Gravity. All of those sequences that they filmed in space, they were in a harness and they had an LED screen behind the camera. So when they filmed them face on, all of the twinkling and all the lighting was based on all the pre-visual effects that they were developing. So that's an interesting technique.
Really interesting too to see how like it was initially a company started and founded by George Lucas that obviously grew to be its own animal and whatever, but to draw now comparisons from like George Lucas to Walt Disney, like obviously Disney has grown to be the big evil corporation that it is now and all the stupid things that they're doing and whatever, but at its core, like Walt Disney himself was very much an innovator, an inventor, a visionary. Like some of the things that Walt Disney was doing of his time was very unheard of. And one of the things that he did was that circle vision, like that. Like he would, I think it's at Epcot, it's at Walt Disney World, but there's still things where you can go, you're in a room and you're surrounded by a screen 360 degrees. But I mean, he was innovating that still back in the 60s. And when, now people think, oh, what's the big deal? You get a camera, whatever stuff. But it's like 40, 50, 60 years ago. I mean, that was unheard of to have that circle vision, 360 degree view of doing a nature documentary, but you can be in a room and look all around you at any angle and see. So now to see that they're doing that with a Disney-owned company, but Star Wars and George Lucas and Jon Favreau and all that, it was like it almost like kind of like came full circle of like what Walt Disney started, back in the 60s. And it is kind of interesting, those parallels of, Star Wars only recently got acquired by Disney within the last couple of years, but they've always kind of had a relationship. I mean, the Star Tours rides that opened in the parks in I think the 80s or 90s when Star Tours became a thing and stuff. So Star Wars and Disney have always kind of had a relationship. The fact that the two finally melded together is kind of fascinating, in that George Lucas and Walt Disney, I think, are very similar visionaries in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and something that you may not know, Disney and the Disney Corporation, or Walt Disney and the Disney Corporation, invented all kinds of new cell photography contraptions. They wanted to put more cinematic moments into stories, and so they created a system where the camera could change its focus on different cells, so you could get foreground out of focus while the background was in focus, and then they could slide those panels. All of that is a product of Walt Disney and his innovators. And forget about all the animatronic developments that eventually became Jurassic Park animatronics and Yoda and all of those other characters.
Yeah, I mean, even the early developments of the Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln was like one of the first, well-developed animatronics. The reason why Steamboat Willie was such an important cartoon is that was the first cartoon on film that had like pre-recorded synchronized audio, because back then like everything was silent, so they would have a guy there playing piano and they show the video on the screen, but the guy's there with the music in front of him playing along. Like Steamboat Willie was the first recorded synchronized sound to film animated. And it was all based on, the classic song Turkey and the Straw and everything. And, you look at it now and people think, okay, yeah, it's an old black and white cartoon. It's whatever. It's like, no, it's like that literally was like groundbreaking, like mind blowing technology for people at that time to be like, how is like the music so perfectly synchronized with the screen, but it's pre-recorded. There's not a live orchestra here playing it. Like, again, it's just little things like that people take for granted now, that it's like at the time it's like he's literally an inventor, an innovator. Like this was new. No one had seen that before.
Yeah,
But
because spoiler
the Disney
alerts, they didn't have
Corporation has-
After Effects in 1933.
But the corporation has grown to what it is now, and so it's hard for people to look past the big corporate giant that it is now and see its humble beginnings of how innovative it was back in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, the 20th century was just chock full of progressive innovation across the board. Everything from the light bulb turning into the LED, turning into the LCD, turning into the OLED monitors that we have today, all started with those silly light bulbs 120 years ago.
And remember, don't throw Tom Holland's face at your monitor like Nerdrotic.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how
Because
it
it's
broke
hard as a rock.
No, and
That
then
was
even
also
then,
Star
like
Wars
the trying to get the funding to build Disneyland, the theme parks itself, people told him he was crazy. Banks denied him. People laughed him out of the building and said this will never work. Look at Disneyland now. Look at Disney World now. Like it, yeah.
Yep. There were some ambitious captains of industry back then. We got Howard Hughes right alongside him at the same time, and a bunch of other guys. And Steve Jobs was only standing on their shoulders anyway. So, yeah, 20th century was a miraculous 100 years. Yeah, filled with terror, filled with violence, filled with tragedy. But, good God.
How's the 21st century going?
The 21st century is going to do what like the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries did, and that is like just chill on all this new technology. It's like they were still driving on Roman roads and using a wheel that was invented 10,000 years prior. It wasn't until the 20th century that they really started rocking it. Wow, that chilled them out. God, not even a word. Just nodding at the camera.
I feel like I need to just bring up that Green Lantern picture again just to get things rolling again.
You know, it's not fun.
Let's see what Jay the Deep Minded just chimed in here. If it'll pop up in StreamYard. Come on.
Wow.
StreamYard's lagging. There it is. It used to be that visual effects technology was created to facilitate storytelling. Now, the volume of technology Disney is using, the tech is dictating the plots. Yeah, I agree with that.
I would agree with that. Yep.
And I think even the Marvel movies did that too. Like I like the Marvel movies up to Endgame, but even then it was getting to where it was like the special effects and CGI was like part of the story. Brought here against my will. Well, okay.
Welcome to the Nerdporial Life one. We're sorry.
Oh no!
But even
not
then,
another
like, talking
teleporter
about-
accident. Good grief! Somebody get on.
But even
that
then, like with
transporter.
Jay of the Deep Minded's comment about it taking over and being more a part of the story than it should have been.
Yeah,
this was not a movie made by ILM, and I know Roman's going to disagree with me on this one a little bit, but we've talked a little bit about Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh dear God.
Yeah.
Yes. Was Keanu Reeves' accent really terrible in that movie? Absolutely. Was some of the dialogue and some of the acting really bad? 100%. However, that movie coming out in the early 90s and being done 100% all old school, old-fashioned camera tricks, practical effects, not an ounce of computer-generated CGI, nothing, was really fascinating in the fact that they were making a film that was supposed to take place in a certain period, and the director wanted to kind of try his best to stay true to that period by using the old camera tricks of like
that's not my complaint about the film, though. I mean,
I understand your complaints. I know your complaints, and
it's the rest of the movie that I
agree with your complaints of it. But I still think the way the movie was made was really fascinating in that they chose to do that with all old-fashioned, old-school camera tricks, like the flashlight and the handkerchief and just weird shit like that. I remember that was another one where I bought the DVD and I watched all the behind the scenes, all the special features. And there's a scene where Keanu Reeves' character is like walking down the steps, like in the castle, and above him in the foreground is a wooden beam with rats running upside down on the underside of this wooden beam. And the way they did that is they filmed the wooden beam upright with rats running across it in a dark background, rewound the film without developing it or exposing it, flipped the camera upside down, and then filmed the shot of Keanu Reeves walking down the steps, and then exposed it all at the same time. So you had this effect of rats running upside down on the wooden beam and the actor walking in the background, and just little things like that where I was like, that was pretty fascinating to see that like they really put some effort into doing the old school tricks.
All the effort that they put into that kind of stuff was totally wiped out by the dreadful
Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder.
Yeah, you know, in all fairness, though, we have to remember what time period we were living in. And the 80s had proven to the industry that you needed these young stars to be a part of these properties. He may never have gotten the funding to make Dracula in the first place had he not greenlit these stars.
I wish he hadn't gotten the movie made. I wish they had.
And he fully admitted.
It's just
he fully admitted that was his reasoning, was Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves were two young, hot people in Hollywood at the time, and that was the only reason he cast them. Thankfully, Keanu Reeves has gone on to actually make more of a serious career for himself. Winona Ryder still kind of iffy, whatever, but Keanu Reeves came around. You know, he's done a lot of good stuff in recent years.
He was in the process of his own trying to resurrect his career because he was kind of almost becoming the Bill and Ted for the rest of his life.
Yeah, he was being very typecast.
And he was like, please get me on this film. He probably partially funded through his casting agent to get that picture. He probably did that because he needed to get out from underneath that.
You want to talk about somebody funding a movie, Evil Dead. While they were making Evil Dead, they ran out of money, and Bruce Campbell believed in this movie so much that he put up property that belonged to his family as like capital and is listed as a producer because he wanted to finish Evil Dead and he believed that this could be a great franchise.
Trust that man's gut. Hopefully he doesn't hesitate to buy a lotto ticket when he has such a gut reaction.
Which I will say, in all the bad moments that have been in recent Marvel movies, his cameo in the most recent Doctor Strange was pretty hilarious. That was probably the highlight of the movie.
He's awesome. And those two, I swear, I'm sure the audience knows this and it's a ridiculous point, but that Oldsmobile needs an Academy Award. The yellow, I swear, MVP, because he's in every single. That's the car that dropped off Spidey in Spider-Man 1. The car that Uncle Ben drove. It's so hysterical. It's like cameo of cameos. And it was his car. He just kept getting it repaired every time damage would happen to it. That's Sam Raimi's car. It's hysterical.
And even when they did the Ash versus the Evil Dead series, Sam Raimi's brother had a pretty major role throughout the series in that one. He just keeps kind of keeping it in the family, I guess.
And the best always do. You could say whatever you want about Coppola's daughter. He brought her into that picture to help basically fund her life. What the hell did he care, man? It's Godfather 3 after all. And she was able to pay for her young directing career. It's and now we've got this young talent
worked on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like Godfather 3. Nobody liked Godfather 3. I wish
guess I'm nobody. Wait, let me change my name to nobody. Hold on. I enjoyed that movie. Only because it was such an interesting conspiratorial thing with the whole with the mafia being connected to the Roman Catholic Church and actually talking to the Pope.
The story, or at least that part of the story, was fine. The problem largely was execution. Execution was garbage. Andy Garcia was not good in that movie. Coppola's daughter was terrible in that movie.
Yeah.
Even Al Pacino was not good in that movie. No. He was too old. He was past the point. You couldn't drag Robert Duvall back. He was not having that. It was everybody. It was like the 50th high school reunion where everybody's dead or don't matter anymore. That's what that was. And there is no in the editing. There's literally, like I said, aside from the basic story itself, but that on its own was not enough to carry you through 3 hours of that.
We were entering into a period in cinematic history where the sequel was almost becoming the only thing you were allowed to produce. And Coppola knew it was a Godfather movie. All the actors knew they were in a Godfather movie, and it became like, we're in a Godfather movie. Hey, here's our Godfather movie. Isn't it a cool Godfather movie? It's like, you know what I'm talking about, Roman. It's all the sequels started getting too tongue in cheek.
But it's the Godfather. It was that one. It just should have never gotten to that point.
True enough.
You have to know. And I mean, even this one, I thought I was out. They pulled me back in. You just have to know when to let it go, and they didn't. And it's really surprising. Of course, that's also. I mean, good directors shouldn't make shit movies like that. That's like Francis Ford Coppola, also with Dracula. It's like, dude. And again, I get you want to screw around with film technique and such on the big screen. That's swell, but if you're not making a good product, then all of this effort is wasted. Nerdpoil, he thinks Coppola needed the money at that point. That's entirely possible.
I've heard that as a rumor. A lot of these guys start talking about how they allow a certain picture to get greenlit that they know shouldn't be made, so that they could get this other handful of products that they want to get made greenlit. And that's the way that industry works. That's what there's a film that Bill Murray did that basically launched the future of his career, called Razor's Edge. Razor's Edge was produced so that Bill Murray would do Ghostbusters 2. It was in the contract. So one allowed the other to get produced. And the Razor's Edge launched...
Ghostbusters or Ghostbusters 2?
Ghostbusters 2.
Hey, Roman,
Bill Murray signed on to that.
It wasn't worth it.
That, huh?
The Razor's Edge was not worth Ghostbusters 2.
Tell us all how you feel about Ghostbusters 2.
It was to Bill Murray because right after that he did Scrooged, he did Groundhog's Day, and so on, and it launched a whole new direction for his career.
All right,
Ghostbusters 2 also an ILM property.
Yep, there you go. That's right.
Bringing it back around.
Like I said, when you first introduced this topic, John, I'm like, we could easily riff on this for 2 hours straight, no problem.
Oh yeah,
it's such a connected company. At this point, we're talking about pop culture. They practically invented it with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, that's true because Harold Ramis and Bill Murray came out of that on very.
That's right. They hated each other after that movie. That was sad.
What a shame. Yeah, it's
and
sad.
I liked. What was the most recent Ghostbusters one? Not the one with the all-female cast. Afterlife. I kind of liked what they did in that one, where like they brought him back and they did the Harold Ramis hologram thing. Like they kind of, it was good. It was a feel-good moment.
Yeah.
No, I enjoyed that. I still go back to Ghostbusters 2, and I just didn't like it. It was very much like most of the sequels of that day, where it's a slight change, but still a basic rehash of the original. But
they try to raise the stakes, make it bigger, make it greater.
But it's basically the same thing.
It was the same thing of if you look at the difference of Alien versus Aliens, they were trying to use that same format of you got to make it bigger, you got to make it.
Those are two very different movies that were.
But I'm saying that they were trying to use that same formula of when you have a sequel, you got to go big.
Yeah, but they didn't change. It needed to be a far different film than it was. I mean, you're working with the Ghostbusters type theme, so you're still, you're limited within that universe.
Yeah.
But for me, it just didn't do it.
Well, yeah, Nerdpoil. Nothing exists. Nothing exists after Aliens. That was it. There was just 2 movies.
No, and it was just such the original Alien 3 script really was pretty good. Because you actually kept a lot of those characters from Aliens. I love David Fincher as a director. but man,
Oof.
was that a freaking complete wrong choice to make that movie. Oof.
And yet,
there's
without that
nothing good.
movie, we wouldn't have most of David's catalog. If he didn't play ball on that picture, we wouldn't really have a Dave Fincher.
But he wrecked the Aliens franchise. I don't know if it was worth it.
I don't think he had the control. He was director in name only. He was constantly being pressured by the studios, and it's because he learned how to let that shit just roll off his skin that he even had a career. That
well, I'm not letting it go,
made his
Steven.
career.
I'm not letting it go. I'm hanging on to that shit.
I can tell. And your doctor will notify you later on this evening.
I know. My blood pressure was so not good this morning.
Roman, just take a breath. And here we go.
Get out of my way.
What's that? This, my friend, is a pint. It comes in pints. I can get you one. You've had a whole half already.
I don't have any.
Down.
I got
You're gonna
nothing.
Be okay. It's gonna be okay.
I can't drink whiskey out here. It's just too hot because I'll die.
Oh, well, then you're just a big sissy.
I believe in triplicates. So the Alien 3 movie. Sorry about that. It's part of the. Actually, the screenplay, the original screenplay for Alien, is available on Audible as a radio show. Where they read the screenplay with members of the original cast. So Bean is on there, reading his part. It's a really interesting, much more world-expanding story than the one we got. Definitely worth a listen if anybody can catch it on Audible.
They also did some very good novelizations prior to Alien 3 vomiting up on the big screen that were direct follow-ups to Aliens with those characters and where they ended up, and those were very fun reads. They're not like extraordinary, mind-blowing books, but they were fun reads, and certainly better than the Alien 3 sequel.
And Alien 4, I know it's going to hurt your heart, Roman, but I can't help myself. Sigourney Weaver and Winona Ryder on screen at the same time. I couldn't hesitate. I'm sorry. It's like the storyline became irrelevant. Yeah, and Ron Perlman and the silly, wacky scientist cast was just.
That's why you don't let the French direct science fiction.
Is that was what, Alien Resurrection? Or
yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
no,
that was
it
bad.
Alien Resurrection. It was Alien Winona Ryder. That's all I know.
it was Resurrection. I think I actually have it in someone bought me a box set. I really only needed the 2 movies, but I think I ended up with a box set.
It was just proof that, Winona looks great in a jumpsuit. Sorry.
I got nothing here.
Save me, John.
I'm looking through my clips, and I got. Let's try this one.
And that was without even a single drop of rum.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to give Nerdporial a nod here. Brad Dourif was in it. There is in almost even every dark horrible movie there is a highlight, and I would say Brad Dourif is that. Just like Gary Oldman in Dracula is a high point.
He was definitely the best part of the movie.
Well, Brad Dourif is also like the best part of The Exorcist 3. Actually, he and George C. Scott were very good.
Oh
in that movie. It's
a
very underrated film.
Totally on point. It's Legion, isn't it? Isn't it Exorcist Legion?
That's Exorcist 3 Legion. Something. I just watched it not terribly long ago because I watched a YouTube video that was talking about this is one of the better movies that you either haven't seen or is mislabeled, and I think that's correct. It is actually it's a very good film,
and it's strongly based on the short story of the same name by William Blatty, who wrote the original Exorcist story. So George C. Scott in one of his last performances, one of the handful of last performances, and you get to see Wormtongue as a total crazy psychopath, evil character. It's what
That's
got him
pretty
the
much
role
most of his
as
characters,
Wormtongue.
to be fair.
Yeah, he's fantastic in that. He's so good. The two of them just dialoguing endlessly is so good. And creepy as hell, right, Roman?
Oh yeah, no, there were some. The jump scares in that are legitimate. Fuck.
Yeah,
Jump
there's
scares.
that one shot that I remember where the camera's just sitting there in the hallway, just watching for like 10 minutes.
Across the screen.
Yeah, people
Yes.
are just walking back and forth, and you're like, oh my God, I know something's going to happen. And the music is slowly rising. And you're like, oh my God, this is going to be a crazy.
Very
so
well done.
good.
I mean, Exorcist 2 was not good. I don't know if anybody actually saw that.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's very slow burn.
This was not this was a follow-up to The Exorcist. This was not a follow-up to Exorcist 2. Exorcist 2 just kind of went, no, didn't happen. But this was brilliant.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen Exorcist 3, go out and watch that and scare the shit out of yourself for Halloween. It's
totally solid and a legitimate sequel to the first Exorcist.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, you get two just really great performances from two outstanding actors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 3, because we have the guy that George C. Scott's hanging out with is the older version of the priest at the end of Exorcist, right? They have lunch together all the time.
No, that's a different priest.
Okay, but still, those two guys dialoguing on screen also.
That's a different priest. But, man, that actor was also really good.
Yep. Solid movie. Everybody in the audience.
Yeah. So, maybe we'll do an Exorcist show for Halloween.
Well, yeah, because once we get into October, we want to get more into the spooky season stuff. Yeah.
I need a young priest and an old priest.
All right. Well, I think we've dissected this topic inside and out, and yeah. So, do we have any closing remarks that anyone wants to add in onto? Let's see what we started on catching up on where we've been the last week. Then we got into ILM. We got into She-Hulk, Marvel, Star Wars, The Exorcist, Alien. We've covered a broad spectrum tonight, with only having one topic in hand.
That's what
I blame you, Roman.
And you should. Roman. It's probably accurate. I definitely deserve it. If not for this, then for something I will do in the future.
And I have one last clip I want to use just because I want to.
No, man. Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
And with that, I think we're down to the closing remarks of what we have going on this week. Since the next thing I have going on this week is also with you. You go ahead, Roman, and then we'll go around the room.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make anything with the UK team this week, Stephen. Just for I have collisions tomorrow, and then Wednesday I don't know anything about it, so I don't bother inserting myself into that. But Thursday, we're going to be doing a. My choice of words. Sometimes
you should rethink your words sometimes.
Not good. So Thursday,
I can show you some of the text that he sends me, and it's bad.
Another what the fuck stream. We're going to be talking about why Hollywood has not a creative thought in their collective heads. More on why California is stupid. A quick look at the Rippaverse, because that's actually closed out now as far as the first.
That's at least something positive and good and happy. And
it is. And a couple just kind of wacky stories that I wandered across this week, which I thought were kind of funny. So I wanted to share those. So it's gonna be pretty loosey goosey, but there's the overall theme that I think we're going to keep going back to is why Hollywood can't produce anything new.
That's Thursday?
That is Thursday.
Oh, wow,
you have access to the document. You should have access to the document. If you don't, then I'll make sure that you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I make scripts. That's what I do. I'm a little wacky.
I obviously don't. And I just,
well,
here we are.
That's clear, son. That's clear.
You too.
Steven, what
You
do you
make
got
me
going on this
blush
week,
all
buddy?
the time. Tomorrow I'm going to be with Colin from FFSI.
Okay.
And we're Colin. I just saw that I got a note from Colin where it's confirmed we will be discussing the legendary space opera author Dr. E.E. Smith in regard to him being one of the grandfathers of 20th century live action cinema and television. Inventor of, in my opinion, the inventor of the Jedi Order, Galactic Patrol, the Starfleet Federation, light speed travel, interstellar races, cosmic horror, and how to police it. This guy is all over the map, and he did most of it before 1945.
Wow.
And then he wound up making some of the best donut recipes while working for a food company because he was a chemist.
Wow.
So,
Is there nothing he couldn't do?
Well, he practically invented science fiction police forces. Of course he's going to invent the best donut.
Well
I'm
played,
telling you, he's
sir.
a genius. So that'll be tomorrow on FFSI, and I'll be definitely tweeting that out. But for all of the newbies out there, that'll be noon Pacific time and roughly 8 p.m. UK GMT.
All right. Awesome. Well, and as always, I usually have your guys' info linked in the description of the video, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, whatever else. So it's all there. So if you're going to tweet that out, people should be able to go find you and follow you for that. But for this week's episode of Mixtape Mondays, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We have Jay the Deep-Minded, Nerdporial, the Thad That Shouldn't Be, Jacob Ironside, probably missing some. But
thank you for that meme, Jacob.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, and thank you
life form.
so much for that meme. That was absolute perfection. And we look forward to future memes of Roman. Anyways, I am John, the Creative Blue Collar Guy, signing off tonight with my co-hosts Roman of the Empire and Stephen Ransom. And we will see you guys next time.
Night.
Be excellent to each other.